Welcome to our kitchen. Today we're going to make barbecue pork ribs. We're going to use some pork back ribs, just what you can get at your supermarket. To me, pork ribs are pork ribs, just like everything in cooking. I always say to someone like Daniel who wants to learn to cook that you can give a recipe, the same recipe to 12 chefs, and you're going to end up with 12 different products. Cooking is such an individual, unique thing that, even myself, sometimes I just enjoy a toasted sandwich. But we have raided our spice cupboard. Just to show you, we have Italian spice, granulated garlic, paprika, curry, cumin, allspice, right down to ginger powder, cinnamon, garlic, tahini, taco spice. Anything is possible. Danny and I are going to just randomly mix up our own spice today, but uniquely to finish it, we've got some slow oven roasted baby heirloom tomatoes that I want to use. So we're going to incorporate this at the end on top of our pork ribs while they cook in the oven, and the steam will allow that flavor to come out. So to start, we are going to use 1 cup of white sugar. We'll put it in the bowl. Then a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And brown sugar has that natural molasses in it, which will help with the browning of the ribs. Danny, what other spices do you like to use?
We can use paprika.
You like paprika? Good.
Mm-hmm.
Me? You can put as much or as little as that as you want in. But a good amount is usually good. You can keep shaking. Like a good tablespoon. I'm going to add some ginger root powder, because the ginger being Asian spice and pork ribs, so it's great together.
Italian seasoning.
And put some Italian herbs in. I am also going to add a little bit of cinnamon. Not too much, just enough to enhance it. Like all foods, you don't want to add too much of anything that will be overpowering, but you want to incorporate, you still want to be able to taste the ribs and the pork when we're done. This is onion powder, which is great.
And allspice.
A little allspice, and our kids love tahini, the Mexican spice that has the lime flavor and everything in it. So we'll add some of that. Danny's just going to use the whisk and whisk up those spices so they're well incorporated. While he does that, I will undo the ribs, and we'll get some paper towel and just wipe them dry. So Daniel's finished whisking up our spice. As you can see, the spice is all incorporated. It's spread nicely throughout the sugar, and it actually tastes, we think, pretty good. So what you want to do, we've wiped down the liquid off our ribs and got them dry. I'm just using the standard foil from the supermarket. This one's about 12 inches wide, so I'm using 2 sheets, a little bit longer than the ribs themselves, and overlapping them halfway so we have enough. Now we're taking these ribs, just putting it in the center. We're going to lightly season with salt, because we didn't add any salt to our spice and sugar mix. And what we do now is we will take our sugar and spice mix and be liberal with this. Now don't be scared to put too much on. And we'll cover this side and we'll flip it. And we can cover the other side as well. Wrapping these in foil and paper, and what that will allow to do is it will steam. I'm actually going to take the paper, lay it on top of the foil, put our rib inside it. Then I want to finish with our sun-dried heirloom tomatoes. And again, I want to be liberal with these and put them in there. Because what's going to happen is it's going to steam and all the flavour of those tomatoes will also come out in the ribs. So we want to bring both ends together, fold it down, then take the ends and just roll them up. Now because we have the rib that was looping, we put it inside the belly. We're going to lay it in our baking dish, the points down. That way it'll be off the bottom of our baking pan. And it'll only be the bones and the meat will be above the base of the pan. Now we'll repeat that. So this is our last rib rack. Again, we take the end to the top, we fold it down, and then we take the end and we fold it in. Bone point side down with the arch on the top in our pan. Now we're going to put that in the oven at 350 degrees for at least 3 hours before we test it with a knife to make sure it's really soft. And don't worry if you've got spice left over, we'll just pop that in a Ziploc bag, spice container, and save it for your next batch. Our ribs, our barbecue ribs have been in the oven for 2.5 hours. We have a convection bake and roast oven, so it only took 2.5 hours. I've tested them and the knife goes into them, they're very tender. If you were using a conduction oven without a fan, they'd take 3.5 hours. So what we need to do is we unwrap them. Naturally, I have asbestos fingers being a chef, but this can be hot. We're going to take them out. We're going to place it on our baking tray here. And we can just get rid of our paper and foil. And we'll do that for each one. You can see that our heirloom tomatoes have softened up nice. You want to undo each packet. Depending on the rib itself, sometimes you can end up with a lot of liquid water that comes out of them, but this one appears to be quite dry. It's possible that all the liquid went into the tomatoes. Now Daniel's just going to help me. We want to apply our barbecue sauce to the ribs.
Shall I brush?
And Daniel's just going to evenly brush the barbecue sauce over the top. And then we're going to put it back in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes for it to glaze and dry out. Dry the barbecue sauce out onto the ribs. And we just keep the sauce on our ribs and just brush it over the top evenly. You know, you can make your own barbecue sauce too using ketchup, apple cider vinegar, molasses, brown sugar and spices. It's the basis for barbecue sauce. For this exercise, it was just as easy to use the Sweet Baby's Ray because it's such a good barbecue sauce anyway. Now we've got that over the top, I'm just going to apply our sun-dried roasted heirloom tomatoes that we placed in there on the ribs. And we'll place them back in the oven 5 to 10 minutes to help glaze it and let that barbecue sauce bake into the ribs. You're singing. The ribs have been in the oven for 10 minutes and they smell great. I'm going to turn him over so I can cut them. And Danny will put them on the plate. You want to put them on the plate? That's good. Now the sauce that's on the tray, I'll just mix it with a little bit of water and thin it down, and we'll use that as our sauce topping as well. But these are awesome. And I actually really enjoyed that idea with the sun-dried tomatoes mixed in them as well. Just add a little bit of water and you can get all that flavor again off the pan from its deglazing and glazing the barbecue ribs with the sauce. So that doesn't go to waste, because that is a whole lot of loving right there. So that's our barbecue ribs. They're going to be spectacular. And great to eat. So I hope you enjoy that recipe. Did you have fun making those?
Yeah.
How's it taste?
Good.
Good? And you don't like tomatoes. So enjoy that. The kids will have fun with it. Yeah, it's all good.